Hey everybody, thanks for watching The Great Green Room. My name is Julia. Today we're going to be looking at Midnight at the Zoo, written and illustrated by Faye Hanson. Midnight at the Zoo is the story of two siblings, Max and Mia, who are so excited because they're going to the zoo with their class. But disappointingly, when they get to the zoo, all of the animals are either sleeping or hiding, and they spend all day looking for animals and not finding them. But then it gets time to go home, but unfortunately, Max and Mia don't notice that their class is leaving without them. And here's a little sight gag. At the beginning of the book, it mentions that it compares Max and Mia to meerkats, like they're skittering around like meerkats or something like that. So when it's time for their class to leave, we're supposed to think that the teacher mistakes the meerkats for Max and Mia. So that's a little thing that you can notice. Anyway, the class leaves without them, and Max and Mia find themselves locked inside the zoo. But not to worry, because Max is ridiculously prepared. He's got his Swiss Army knife, he's got his snacks, he's got his flashlight, but he ends up not even needing those things because it turns out that at midnight, the zoo becomes a completely different place. We've got dancing flamingos, we've got glow-in-the-dark monkeys, we've got it's basically Mardi Gras in here. So after partying all night with the animals, Max and Mia snuggle down with the lions and wake up a few hours later to find the whole world looking at them, including their mom, but not their teacher, who has presumably been fired. And their mom scoops them up and takes them home, where they tell her all about the wonderful time they had at the zoo. And she obviously thinks they're dreaming, and maybe they were. Maybe this entire thing was a dream. It's not clear. So when I go to the library to find new books to review, I don't just start at the beginning of the new book section and work my way through, because as you probably know if you are watching this, there are so many low-effort children's picture books, just so many. I realize I sound like a book snob, but seriously, so many. So when I go to the new bookshelf, I try really hard to find books that look a lot more interesting, that have more interesting pictures, that look like a lot more effort have been put into them. And sometimes I find books that are really unusually high concept, for children's books in particular. And sometimes those books really pan out. How the Queen Found the Perfect Cup of Tea, a really good example of a high concept picture book that pans out and works really well. Other times I can tell that a lot of effort has been put into the story and the illustrations, but it just doesn't hang together like it's supposed to. And this is one of those, I feel. So I realize that this book is fantasy, and it feels unfair to point out logical inconsistencies in a fantasy book for 5-year-olds, but the hand-waving really bothers me a lot. So, for instance, this whole thing with the meerkats, I really hate it. I really hate this visual gag. I think it's really stupid, and it really bothers me more than it should. And also, how dumb are Max and Mia that they didn't notice their class was gone until it was dark and the zoo was locked. The watch on Max's wrist says it's 23:10. That's British for 10 after 11 p.m. What were they doing all that time? There weren't even any animals to look at. And the party section is cute. I want to like it. Unfortunately, I also have some issues with the illustrations. Again, I want to like them, but they're so busy. It's so oversaturated that it's actually almost hard to look at. I've adjusted the brightness on the video a little bit, so it's actually easier to look at the screen than it is to look at the actual book. And also there's a problem with the text on these dark pages. You can see it here because I've got the light behind me, but if the light's not behind you, you can't read the text. It's dark text on a dark background, and that's bad planning, because if you don't have the light behind you, you can't read it. Again, this is a book that I want to like. I can tell a lot of effort went into it. Also, what is happening here? Why are they sleeping with the lions? Is this actually happening? The fact that you can't tell whether this whole thing is a dream or not also bothers me, just as a side note. So I can really tell that a lot of effort went into this. I want to like it. I like the concept. It just doesn't pan out, and I just didn't like it at all. I didn't care for any of it. So I'm gonna give it a 2. and suggest that you leave it on the shelf. If you completely disagree with me, I think that's great. I think that's cool. Maybe you really think that the illustrations look amazing. In that case, go for it. As always, I want to hear about your favorite children's books, books that you've read, books that you like, that you didn't like. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching.